Next up on championship court, it's none other than Federico Staksrud, a gold medalist here in 2023 on the Carvana PPA Tour. He also has 2 silvers to his name. And Dylan Frazier in the red shirt. He's also somebody to look out for in terms of men's pro singles. Cameron Irwin alongside Adam Stone. And talk to me about Dylan Frazier playing singles. What does he bring to the table?
I really like Dylan Frazier.
Okay, we know you like him as a person.
He's one of my favorite players,
He is
though.
great.
So, and he does not have a tennis background.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he has, for being so as young as he has played a lot of pickleball in his life, but he does not have that tennis background. So, spectacular. Some of the results and some of the play that he shows without that racket sport background. So the main thing for Dylan Frazier is the forehand. One of the most deceptive forehands in the game, and I expect him to really look to hit as many forehands as possible. Federico Staksrud also prefers the forehand, but he's a little more even, a little more comfortable on the backhand side. So I would expect Dylan to really look to hit forehands, and Federico to kind of just hit whatever comes his way, as he's very capable on both wings.
Well, Dylan Frazier does have a bronze medal for men's pro singles this year. That was all the way back at the Hyundai Masters, the first stop on the Carvana PPA Tour. We already mentioned what Federico Staksrud was able to do, picking up silver, then another silver in the first 2 events. Then he found gold at the Arizona Grand Slam and had a little bit of a harder time at the Vulcan Indoor National Championships.
Nice shot from Federico Staksrud, and 2 solid two-handed backhands from Dylan Frazier. I know he's really been working on that two-handed backhand, not only for singles, but for doubles.
Point. 1-0.
Of course, this is men's quarterfinal action, so looking for a spot in the semifinals.
And I'll tell you right now, Cameron, there is no one playing pickleball singles better than Federico Staksrud right now. The guy is an absolute champion, so solid, no weaknesses whatsoever.
He's a menace, the best possible way.
Point.
Also important to note, some crazy things happening in this men's singles draw. The name we have yet to say, but deservedly so right now to be named, Colin Schick has made his way into a semifinal.
Yes, by defeating Julian Arnold. Huge upset. Actually, a North Carolina guy. I have had the chance to play with him a couple times up in North Carolina with Noah Saraban, the pickleball doctor. So phenomenal to see him kind of come out and get a big win and move forward in this draw. Tons of talent out there. Played a little tennis at NC State, now in med school. So nice to see some new names popping in and getting big wins.
Make it 6-0 right now for Federico Staksrud. He's on a riot.
Yeah, just like I said, there's just no weaknesses in his game. I understand Dylan missed an easy forehand earlier and made a couple uncharacteristic mistakes, but Federico Staksrud, when he gives you absolutely nothing, that is a weapon in itself.
It looks like Federico Staksrud's also starting to work with the Perseus. Dylan Frazier is currently trailing by 6, although up against a formidable opponent, Federico Staksrud, on the other side of the net. Men's quarterfinal action here at the Red Clay Hot Sauce Florida Open.
I believe that's the first mistake Fed's made, and it wasn't even a mistake. He put it in the court, obviously a little high, but see if Dylan can get something going.
Point.
Hey, big serve on the baseline is a good way to start, capturing his first point of the match. Let's see if he can get it going.
Wow, Staksrud on his tippy toes several times throughout that, trying to find some volleys, doing a nice job maintaining the advantage in that point.
Exactly right, Cameron. I mean, those were 5, 6, 7 really good shots from Dylan. I mean, that's what it takes when you're playing Fed. You got to hit
7-1.
an incredible amount of quality shots to win a point from this guy.
7-1.
Nice volley from Dylan, pushing that up to the Federico Staksrud backhand. Didn't have a terrible look at it, but couldn't get it over the net, so ball back to Dylan.
Side out.
There's it's one of the favorite shots of Dylan Frazier is that cross-court roll. He's gonna get that dialed in, I promise you, even though that one caught the tape.
Side out. 1-7.
Started to lean left, found the right side though for Staksrud.
Yeah, just that slight lean was the difference, because he definitely had to reach out that right hand a little bit more than he wanted to.
Wow, Dylan Frazier looking real athletic right there.
Yes, great move, great lateral movement from Dylan Frazier, and once again, you got to hit 5 good shots to win a point from Federico, and that's exactly what Dylan did on that point. Yeah, didn't quite clear his body. You can see how off balance he is. Shows a little frustration after that forehand miss.
7-1.
Nearly stole one away from Dylan Frazier.
Yeah, nice. I don't know. You can't call that a drop shot. It was just a mid-pace off to the side there. So he definitely changed it up a little bit with that forehand.
Side out.
Yeah, you can see it again. You don't see a lot of emotion from Dylan, but you can see on a couple of these shots, kind of wondering what is going wrong.
Side out.
Just enough on that backhand volley from Dylan to force Federico into an error.
1-7. Side out.
And it's a friendly game, ladies and gentlemen. Just hands it
One for
right
one.
back over.
Dylan Frazier out of the University of Missouri, where he's still a student. He's been working actually
7-1.
in online courses, so he can play pickleball.
Well, I had Dylan on my podcast, and I asked him if he had, given his recent results being very good, had he ever considered dropping out of school to pursue pickleball full time? And he just stares right at me and goes, "Yes." Can't blame him, but he's gonna finish.
I don't know if his mama would let him do that.
Great control of the kitchen line from Federico. One-handed backhands, two-handed backhands off the bounce. Man's got it all.
7-1.
That's a good-looking backhand volley from Dylan.
Right now, Dylan Frazier is still just trying to find some of his game. They've been going side out for side out in the last few points.
Point.
And he caught it.
Yeah, I think so. They're having a little conversation about it.
Yeah, I think Staksrud is also somebody, and Dylan Frazier, both on that list of asking about line calls.
Are you going to use your video challenge? So, come here with
So
me.
at 7-2, Federico Staksrud is going to ask for a video challenge here because we're in quarterfinals action. Those video challenges now come into effect. So now they're looking at this last play. So Federico, I believe, is challenging his own call.
Mr. Staksrud.
Oh, I see.
The score is 2-7.
So he called the ball out of bounds and is challenging it.
Correct. And they had a brief little conversation after the ball landed. So, yeah, there's a good look right above that guaranteed rate sign. And it's not a perfect look from my perspective, but I do think that is a little bit wide. Oh, that's tough. That's a tough one. We'll see.
Again, in quarterfinals action, those challenges come into effect.
Yeah, very tough. Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say that the call is going to stand.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned,
Tough to overturn that at that point.
As I mentioned, at this point, that's very much a guess.
Dylan Frazier taking this time. Get reset here. And again, I would say both Dylan Frazier as well as Federico Staksrud do a nice job in terms of their lines.
Yes.
A lot of times you'll see both of them ask their opponent, what did you see? Did you see it in? Did you see it out?
Right, yeah, and I haven't had a lot of experience playing with Federico. You know, as he's more of a recent player, had a little injury and not playing as much anymore, but I played Dylan Frazier several times and absolutely never thought one thing about him making a bad call against me. But, you know, I mean, the bottom line is, Cameron, with these calls and these, you know, the fast pace of everything, it doesn't matter. You are not going to, you're going to make a mistake every now and then as a player.
It's
just
inevitable.
It's just a fact. So just because one call gets overturned or that situation arises doesn't necessarily mean that player has an issue with line calls. It's just, it's a fast-paced game. Things happen.
Dave Stewart and
little powwow of the referees.
Bunny Gatman right now.
Call stands. Ball was in. Mr. Staksrud is charged with timeout. The score is 2-7. Mr. Frazier is hurt.
So we said the call stands.
So I think what ended up happening is Federico Staksrud actually said the ball was in bounds, and then he challenged his own call, so he didn't originally call it out of bounds. So that's what occurred. So the call stands, ball in bounds, cannot be overturned. Dylan Frazier's ball.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Cameron.
So even there, he was giving him the benefit of the doubt with the in call.
Hey, that's a good way to get the momentum going. It's always a good strategy to clip the tape.
3-7.
Yeah, Dylan kind of leaving that ball a little higher than he wanted to. He wanted to hug that sideline a little bit more, so he was forced into a guess. And sometimes when you hit a poor shot in singles, you kind of guess one side or the other, and unfortunately for him, he guessed wrong in that particular instance.
Point.
Just look at how much shape is on that ball from Federico Staksrud.
And Staksrud always attacking the ball, never waiting for it to get to him. He goes and gets it.
Also important to note, I mentioned it just before the timeout, he is using the Perseus paddle from Yola right now. That's the paddle that Ben Johns has been kind of fiddling with and playing with the last few times. I believe this could be his first tournament with it. If you know, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I do think that you're right. If it isn't the first, it hasn't been many.
Side out.
Pretty good look at the inside-out forehand from Federico. You know, sometimes you miss for a reason. Sometimes you just miss by a couple inches. I think that was the case there, as he did have his balance underneath him.
And that lands with some help from the net.
Yeah, but a phenomenal backhand roll right before that forehand that clipped the tape, Cameron. So he was fortunate on that last ball, but a great backhand to set that up.
Point.
A missed return.
the shoulder drop.
The shoulder slump.
He handed it right back to him. As I said, Dylan Frazier, friendly guy.
Point game.
So 11-5, Federico Staksrud with game number 1. The number 2 seed looking for some redemption after the Vulcan Indoor National Championships. Federico Staksrud is looking very steady after game number 1. 11-5 over Dylan Frazier, Cameron Irwin alongside Adam Stone. And of course, welcome to the Red Clay Hot Sauce Florida Open on the Carvana PPA Tour. This is men's quarterfinal action. But wow, we mentioned it in the middle of that match. Colin Schick has made his way to a semifinal. Everyone start Googling him. And of course, Ben Johns has also found himself in a semifinal. here in Florida. These two fighting for a spot.
Game 2, time
Federico Staksrud will get us started in game 2.
And Dylan really did have a pretty slow start. He played a lot better towards the middle and end of that first game.
He did, yeah.
So let's see if he can carry that momentum forward, and he's going to have to against this quality opponent.
And in terms of that final semifinal spot, it's going to come down to, get this, another good name, Chris Hayworth versus Pablo Tellez. They'll be in quarterfinal action as well.
I love it.
They're actually out on the grandstand right now.
He went for it. That was going to be so slippery there with some deception.
Look at him smiling on the way back. Come on, Fed. Okay, why not do it that way?
I mean, ridiculous. Just hold, absolutely no backswing, flips through the ball. Nothing Dylan can do. I was about to talk about how high Federico's floor is, but man, that ceiling's high as well. I would say between him and Ben, it's just very rarely a poor match. Some of the other players right at their level have some peaks and valleys. Federico, not so much.
Federico Staksrud played some collegiate tennis, both at Tennessee Wesleyan as well as the University of New Orleans.
Just a little chat, a nice fun fact there, Cameron. A little chat with the ref from Federico about whether that ball was wide or not.
1-0.
Okay, confirmation from our referee.
Side out.
Staksrud also originally from Argentina, 27 years old.
0-1.
Also served as a tennis coach for a few years as well. As a let serve comes his direction.
Just pulling off that forehand a little bit. Would have liked to see him stay on that a little bit longer.
1-0.
And Dylan Frazier.
Side out.
Too good from Federico. Often, I'd say at least 3 out of 4 times he's going to take that ball cross court, but just a nice job by him changing up his pattern and keeping his opponent honest.
Point.
Yeah, Dylan throwing up his hands, thinking that serve took a funky bounce. Not sure if that was the spin from Staksrud or just a possible bounce that goes awry on you. It happens.
Oh, and I like it. Dylan Frazier also shows that he can hold and pull that ball across court.
The
His backhand side.
Yes, the hold and flip. I talked about that.
Hold and
Frazier
flip.
two-handed backhand. He's really been working on that shot, and we see just missed. Yes, we see him reaping the rewards of that practice as some of those two-handers looking on point.
Say it again.
That's one of the tough balls to have to get the ball right at your feet. It almost requires just as much footwork to get outside the ball.
2-0.
And I believe that ball was called out of bounds at Dylan's feet.
Correction. 2-1.
So score is 2-1 in favor of Dylan.
Side out.
How does he keep that ball in? I think even Federico thought he missed it, so
1-2.
incredible to drop that in the back corner from Fed.
And again,
Point.
Just incredible shape. The frequency that when Dylan Frazier's at the kitchen line and he's still hitting up on the ball is unbelievable, the amount of spin and net clearance that Federico is getting.
I think it's fun, too, to watch so many of these pros in what I'll call their paddle path. I know that sounds a little funky, but it's where they start their paddle versus where they finish. Some coming more across their body, some wrapping around their head, depending on the shot they're looking for.
Yeah, definitely true, Cameron, and there's a lot of different grips, too. A lot of more players going to the Eastern and the semi-Western grip. It used to be more continental, so there's a lot of different strategies going on out there.
Side out.
What a drop ball right there.
Yeah, good
Nice
deception.
drop volley.
Yeah, good deception from Dylan. Kind of giving Federico a late break to get forward, and he couldn't get there.
2-2. Side out.
Yeah,
just one side shuffle to get there.
Exactly
I was
right.
looking at how he got there.
Yep. Little floaty there from Dylan, and
2-2.
as we mentioned, Federico always attacking the ball, never waiting.
This just off his back foot. That's one of the most precarious positions in terms of that two-hand backhand. The outstretched right foot.
Side out.
Tough break, had him leaning. Definitely the right play going up the line there from Dylan Frazier. You can see a little frustration from him as he knows he had an open court.
2-2.
Dylan Frazier says, thank you very much.
Federico's like, man, I wish this was 2018 when if you hit an ATP, you just won the point.
It was an automatic win.
Yeah, when you're playing against these caliber of athletes, you better hit it pretty dang good or it's coming back.
And again, Federico Staksrud is just tagging the baseline right now.
I mean, it doesn't even matter forehand or backhand. Some of these shots.
2-2. Side out.
I mean, I'll tell you what, that's a good spot for a sponsorship little sign because that guaranteed rate sign has been getting a lot of action today.
A little help for Dylan Frazier.
Oh, you know he'll take it right now.
Again, Federico Staksrud picking up game number 1 in this quarterfinal matchup. So Dylan Frazier would need this second. We saw Ben Johns earn his spot into the semifinal over J.W. Johnson in 3 games played.
2-3.
And you saw Dylan with the margin, about 2 inches was the difference.
Federico tried that banana ball. He almost got it to come back in the court. Yeah, a couple missed serves from Dylan Frazier.
2-3.
Good anticipation. He almost delayed and baited him to go there.
Yes, and as I mentioned, being fleet of foot and being quick is awesome, but when you anticipate well and you know the patterns of your opponent, no different than being fast, and we saw both of those right there from Dylan Frazier.
Ready? 3-2.
Looping that ball back cross court, trying to cut it off.
Yeah, you're right, Cameron. A little awkward spot from Dylan Frazier, whether he should let that ball bounce or take it out of the air. I don't hate the decision to stab at it out of the air, just a little off balance and couldn't come up with it.
So a timeout called now on championship court. We'll be back. The largest tournament in the PPA this year is right here at the Red Clay Hot Sauce Florida Open. Men's quarterfinals action happening on this first day of coverage. A crazy reach, but it's not enough for Dylan Frazier facing off against Federico Staksrud. This is a must-have game for Frazier.
Pretty nice little 360, though, I would say.
Start calling him Tony Hawk.
Uh-huh.
Sean White, whatever you want to do. I know. Name an extreme athlete.
Missed volley from Dylan, and fella's kind of been trading side outs, a little back and forth early in game 2. Federico had a great start in game 1, but Dylan's matching him so far in game 2.
Left. I'll recall the score. 4-3.
And that's what Dylan Frazier, again, the anticipation off that first contact on the backhand side.
So he is staying in position to hit that ball, and as soon as he executes the shot, he is springing to the next spot, and it's just incredible movement for him to take that ball out of the air on that previous point. Great job, Dylan.
So the question is what enables him to do that? Is it just absolute confidence that his shot's going to be good enough that he can go?
That, and he's very quick, and like I said, no tennis background, but he's been playing pickleball for around 8 to 10 years, so he has a great court awareness and great court sense.
His mom originally introduced him to the game.
Oh, I remember they used to play mixed doubles together. I remember back in the day. So he's been around for a while, but definitely moving to the top echelon of the sport this last year or so. It's really cool to see.
Well, she actually played when she was at the University of Missouri. Back when she was in college, played recreationally.
Yeah, Dylan, we've seen a couple really good two-handed drops cross-court from Dylan, but he is struggling a little bit when he is pulling that, or not pulling that, but pushing that two-hander up the line for the drop, leaving that high.
That was a rough error.
Pushes this.
It's 4, right? 4. Now it's 5, right? Ref correction, that was 4-4.
I believe that was actually a point at 4-4.
It was 4-4, not 5-4. Side out.
So now the
4-4.
correct score.
I'll call the score. 4-4.
4-4, as that was a side out. Just making sure we got all the digits in the right place. Dylan Frazier can't believe it.
Yeah, it's an uncharacteristic miss because I would say he's probably top 5 or so in cat and mouse points up at the kitchen. We've seen a couple errors from him in this match.
Point. 5-4.
There it is again with that two-hander up the line. Obviously a very good shot from Federico. Dylan not in the best spot, but another error into the net on that two-handed backhand side.
It's almost a little bit of a bummer too for Dylan because he had set up that up the line because on so many of those previous balls to the kitchen, he had been going cross court, remember, and then closing out with the forehand. So having to make the adjustment, it's a bummer he couldn't find the combination there.
Great kind of coming in hot from Dylan Frazier with a controlled third shot coming in and a nice crisp volley.
4-6 now for Frazier. Excuse me, 5-6, make it 6-6 now. Staksrud toweling off.
Wow, back to back.
Wow,
misses,
another missed return. And again, conditions a little different here than last place these two competed. And that lands for Frazier. 8-6.
Yeah, fortunate, but he was in a great position with that ball regardless of it clipping the tape. So Dylan Frazier, phenomenal run with some incredible shot making and a couple freebies from his opponent. And all of a sudden, Dylan Frazier with an 8-6 lead.
Yeah, Federico Staksrud might be finding himself in a game 3 if he's not careful here. Dylan Frazier up by 2 over Federico Staksrud in game number 2. A spot in the semifinals is up for grabs between these two opponents. Dylan Frazier will have to find a second and a third game to get there, though. Right at the body. Dylan Frazier with the whip.
Yeah, nice job. We talked about that. In singles, often the players looking to space, and occasionally, as long as you don't do it too much, attacking the body can be a really good play. All right, Staksrud needed that, and he needed to get that ball back after, I believe, what was a 5-point run from Dylan Frazier. Let's see what he's got for us. Missing on that cross-court backhand attempt, and some nice dink and dunk cat and mouse play from Dylan Frazier.
They were actually tied up at that 6-point mark. It's a 3-point run for Frazier.
Thanks, Cameron.
I got you. I'm doing the math. I'm just helping you out. I was going to call by you.
10-6.
Watch the trajectory of that off the paddle of Federico Staksrud.
Yeah, just one of the absolute best cross-court forehands. Power and spin.
And I was about to say, I like the way Staksrud digs kind of on that backhand slice, how low he gets his body and the point of contact. Just missing that second backhand. So another shot for Dylan Frazier to send this to a third.
I like it. Everything was lined up for him to attack that ball and come forward. Couldn't clear the net. That's part of the deal. But I like the decision for sure.
You usually find him doing that inside out from the baseline, a little different in transition. Tough return.
Yeah, really nice volley though. Phenomenal volley. And after that last point, we heard Federico kind of talking in his native tongue a little bit to himself, and that usually means for a foreigner he's not thrilled with his performance. So got to clean it up, Fed. Here we go.
Speaking of cleaning it up, how about this combination?
But to come forward and scoop that last ball on the rise is a crazy degree of difficulty. A lot of players would wait for that to come up. Federico attacks that ball. Unbelievable shot.
And a couple short returns from Dylan Frazier. Staksrud's trying to create from the transition zone.
Yeah, it was almost too juicy on that last one. Federico had exactly what he wanted.
There it is for Dylan Frazier. We're going three again. We gotta love it on the Carvana PPA Tour. Why not go to a third?
We wouldn't have it any other way, Cameron.
So Dylan Frazier picking up game in number 2. He had a few good looks at it, but that is the final stroke on a game point. To game at 3 we go. A spot in the semifinals is in play right now between Federico Staksrud and Dylan Frazier, the 2 versus the 7 seed. It was all Dylan Frazier in game number 2. What was working for him, Adam?
Absolutely, and I think that at the end of game 1, even though Dylan Frazier lost that game, he kind of found some of his shots and some of his game. He carried that over into game 2, and with a great finish in game 2, Dylan Frazier, let's see if he can carry that over to this game 3. But absolutely, just a little more crisp, especially with the soft stuff up at the kitchen line. We saw a couple errors in game 1, and he was very clean with those shots throughout the entirety of game 2.
Oh, Dylan Frazier thought he had played this point perfectly. Found that just on the forehand. A little too long, but it all started with the serve even.
Yes, yes. I like the idea of him taking that ball out of the air, too. Just didn't work out that time.
Foot fault.
Oh, so quick with the feet. Dylan Frazier.
I love the rare hands battle in singles. I love it, though.
I mean, that grab was one thing. Then he decided to volley that last ball, got him in the point of advantage. Nice lunge.
Yeah, very nice job at the full stretch from Dylan Frazier to get enough pace on that ball to push it past Federico. Yeah, we've seen Dylan, I believe that's the second or the third one where he's kind of had that combination of side spin and top spin when he's stepping over to his left, and just a little too much spin curling that ball out wide, but
and again, see, look at the difference in this paddle path. See how it ends up on the right side of his body. That means he's really trying to add a ton of topspin. He's not in the best position to be able to drive that ball.
It's a risky shot, but if he pulls it off, it's moving away from Federico.
Exactly.
So it is a risk-reward kind of situation.
Side out.
So another side out in play.
1-0.
Making Fed move an awful lot. This goes the direction of Frazier.
Just phenomenal athleticism from these guys. So many balls on the full stretch, the footwork, the court coverage. It's just absolutely ridiculous right now. Love to see these high quality matches.
And again, Federico Staksrud has tried to look for that same shot. Dylan Frazier got the better of him on the last ball in the same location.
Just held it long enough.
Yeah. And again, Frazier with the jump on that.
I mean, it's just really, really crazy court coverage from the kitchen line from Dylan Frazier, because I believe both of those two-handed backhands up the line from Federico Staksrud were very quality shots, just too good from Dylan.
0-1.
Frazier will take it.
I like that. He doesn't hang back when he floats one. He just kamikazes right towards Federico and somehow drew an error.
Just missing that.
Same ball, Cameron. Each one's been a little bit closer, but that one's still about 3 inches wide.
Let's serve.
I'll recall the score. 1-1.
Tries to put a little shoulder into it, a little deception from Frazier.
I always say that when you throw in the shoulder waggle, sometimes you fake them out, sometimes you fake yourself out.
I like that it's on the shoulder wag, but the waggle.
Waggle.
You're coming up with your own terms here.
Absolutely.
That's what we do.
2-1.
How we do. Closing in is Staksrud.
Yeah, great ball, all set up from that incredible inside-out forehand, but you're exactly right, Cameron. When you hit a ball like that, don't wait. Go forward, come in, and finish on the next one, exactly what he does right there.
Oh, and he had almost the same back-to-back, but this is...
He called it out.
Ooh.
It wasn't quite as juicy as that previous ball, but pretty much a carbon copy of that same pattern.
Dylan Frazier called that ball out of bounds. I believe it is, but no.
Yeah, I saw it out as well. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
We got it situated.
1-3.
1-3.
Point.
Just a couple feet off the kitchen line was what it was. He's very good at those lunge forehands, as we've talked about, but that time...
There's another ball from Dylan Frazier, and it's interesting. He has such a different approach to this inside in terms of his footwork and where the ball is in location and to his body. It's a lot tighter. He kind of keeps it out in front of him instead of outstretched versus that closed stance.
Yep, you can see the differences. Not a tennis player as well. So,
but it allows him to kind of bunt and go quickly with just his wrist. It gets him to the kitchen line faster.
Wow. Federico, and this is obviously a combination of, you know, Federico's level dipping a little bit, but you have to give credit to Frazier. He has really been keeping the pressure on. Federico, one of the more solid guys out there, but making a few errors because of Dylan's pressure.
Point.
He gets 6, a missed return.
We need to switch ends, gentlemen.
So a change of end here at 6. Dylan Frazier will go to the far side. Federico Staksrud coming to the near side. This is going to give him some time to think things over. Dylan Frazier is looking to do something that has been done only a few weeks ago at the Vulcan Indoor National Championships, which is take down Federico Staksrud in men's pro singles action. The last to do it in the winner's side of the draw was J.W. Johnson. If you think back to Lakeville, Minnesota, it was 14-12, 12-14, 11-9. Just an outstretched and elongated match between those two. That ball bounced in the kitchen, so Dylan Frazier able to more than step in.
Yes, and so I like it. I know we just had the referee timeout at the switch at 6, but Federico has got to stop Dylan Frazier right now, who is just on point with some of these shots. Couple let assisted, a couple clean. I mean, the man is moving His footwork is impeccable, and his contact point is very consistent, and you can see with these shots that not a lot going wrong from Dylan Frazier right now.
So 8-3 Dylan Frazier. A 5-point advantage over the #2 seed Cameron Irwin alongside Adam Stone. That's who you've been listening to. Right now, Dylan Frazier is just 3 points away from moving on to a semi-final.
You saw in the back there, Cameron, some Team Dylan Frazier shirts. One of the players with some of the best family support in the business. So it's always nice when you're out here traveling, playing an individual sport on Thursday singles, to have your crew out there rooting you on. So really nice family structure from them, lovely people, and it really helps these players.
I think it's Cindy and Sean, mom and dad to Dylan.
Side out.
Ooh, good look, just wide.
3-8. Side out.
So another side out for Dylan Frazier here. The winner of this will face Colin Schick in the semifinals. Ben Johns is also into a semi.
He called that out. Side out.
Oh, okay. I wasn't quite sure what happened right there. That was an interesting situation.
Ball called out of bounds.
Side out.
Wow, this is, yeah, I mean, it's just uncharacteristic. I talk about
Funky.
how consistent Federico is, but we're all human out there, and he's playing a couple loose shots. That one, very much not a loose shot. Great lunge forehand from Federico. And it is definitely go time for him, as he needs to get a few points on the board.
Yeah, just look at the amount of pressure that Dylan can apply. He takes that ball again, almost midline, and is running and like on the full sprint to get to the kitchen.
8-3.
Big crossover step for Dylan Frazier.
Yeah, he was a little fortunate there. He got the reset off the tape, but he got in, and you're exactly right. You can be aggressive with good shots, Cameron. Pace, spin, depth. But if your court positioning is aggressive too, just another way to put pressure on your opponent.
Side out.
Doesn't fall his direction. And it's interesting, at the beginning of the day, I asked you about some names that might be standing out here for men's pro singles. You mentioned Pablo Tejas. Well, you were correct. He has also made a semifinal. He'll face Ben Johns after taking down Chris Hayworth, 8-11, 11-2, 11-6.
I mean, Pablo Tejas was absolutely on point against Jay DeVilliers earlier in the day, so not surprising to see him sneak into the semifinals.
Point.
Dylan Frazier also looking to sneak into the semifinals. 7 seed. He would have a good look against Colin Schick.
10-3.
Commanding lead, 10-3.
Not so fast. Staksrud found a few points. He was in a similar position in game 2.
10.
Yeah, just a little too high on that initial pass from Federico. That last ball could have floated wide, but Dylan did not want to even have a chance of it sailing, and hit a nice crisp forehand cross court.
Second match point for Dylan Frazier. Oh man,
Yeah.
everyone's holding their breath.
Well, the initial pass was phenomenal.
Yes.
So nice full stretch from Federico, and Dylan couldn't come up with the volley.
Point.
Minnesota was all James Ignatowicz, taking down some big names, earning himself the gold in men's pro singles.
4-10.
Dylan Frazier could have a look. There's a nice athletic move, little jump.
Yeah, I think a little bit at the midpoint of that point, I think that Dylan Frazier had a forehand that I would expect him to be more aggressive with. He kind of went with a more neutral dink instead, and it might have cost him a little later in the point there.
Scores 5-10.
So Dylan Frazier decides to take a timeout here. He's only dropped one. He had 2 match point opportunities to this point.
But
he says that's enough.
yeah, but you're exactly right. A 7-point cushion is definitely nice to have. But when you're playing Federico Staksrud, anything can happen, Cameron.
Federico Staksrud found a couple points. He needs to find a lot more against Dylan Frazier right now in game number 3. 10-5. Federico Staksrud is trying to find a spot in the semifinals, but Dylan Frazier's put himself in a good position. I think we're going to have a reserve here. Dylan Frazier right on the line, and Staksrud somehow got a paddle, but lands out of bounds.
Yeah, unbelievable volley.
This is the third look for Dylan Frazier.
Side out.
Always hard to close out one of the best.
5-10.
Yeah, you can see the frustration there. He knows he has to make that as we hear him bellow in frustration.
And on the 4th try, Dylan Frazier sends himself to a semifinal.
Very nice play just from the start of that match to see Dylan Frazier just build momentum throughout the end of game 1, game 2, and game 3. Phenomenal job by Dylan. Big win.
Big congratulations to Dylan Frazier as he moves on to the semifinals here at the Red Clay Hot Sauce Florida Open. Drew Felios and Dave Fleming coming up next on the mic to walk you through the rest of this Thursday.
My name is... Welcome back. I'm Cameron Blackwood here with Dylan Frazier. Dylan, a little bit of a slower start there in the first game. You're able to battle back. What adjustments did you make in the second game to come out on top?
Yeah, definitely a slow start in the first game. The conditions are a little different playing inside here on center court than outside, so it was a frustrating start for me. I missed a few volleys, but I just adjusted to it and started hitting a little bit cleaner. Federico's an amazing player. He's had an amazing year this far. He's playing at a really high level too, so like he just puts a lot of pressure on you to make extra good shots. So just got to make sure I put the ball in play and maybe not try to hit so many backhands because it's kind of a weakness of mine. So I started moving around it a little bit and it worked out.
And the men's game is played so much up at the kitchen line with that cat and mouse. Talk to us about the training versus coming here at the baseline and how much more the guys prepare up at that kitchen.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different up there. You're kind of guessing a little bit, anticipating, you know, recognizing patterns that the other player is hitting into. And I think for training, like you can start points at the kitchen line, but it is a lot different. And for me, I kind of prefer points up there. I don't really have a tennis background, so sometimes I struggle from the baseline. But once I get up there, I feel pretty comfortable. And so that's usually a good play for me.
And it came out on top. Dylan Frazier moving on. You guys don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back.